This is Blade & Soul in the first quarter of 2021. This is Blade & Soul in the fourth quarter of 2021. I don't think I really need to spell out exactly how bad this is for the game, but if that didn't convince you, here's another graphic to further drive the importance of this reveal. In light of this and the imminent and impending closure of Blade & Soul on PC, a new Blade & Soul MMO is already on its way and poised to make up the financial loss of the franchise on PC. Yeah, take a moment here and let that sink in. Blade & Soul, an MMO with what is arguably one of the best combat systems currently present within the genre, an MMO that has a larger world, better, more thorough customization options, and generally a more stunning graphical style than almost any of its current competition. This game is getting a remake, a sequel, a complete overhaul in the form of a brand new game. And you'd think this would be cause for celebration, but it isn't. Hey, my name is STIX, and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here and you're interested in anime or MMOs or RPGs, then make sure you go ahead, click that subscribe button, hit the notification bell to stay and remain updated with everything that I post. Quick shout out to our patrons over on Patreon. You guys are all amazing. It's humbling to see people willing to support you in any way, whether it be a like or a comment or even a view. Now, today, specifically, I want to talk about a game that should not exist. Blade & Soul S, a brand new Blade & Soul MMO. Blade & Soul S was announced all the way back in 2018. Yes, this MMO has been in active development for over 4 years now, and all we have to show for it is a single trailer, the very trailer that you are now watching in the background. This game was announced simultaneously with Ion 2, which, just FYI, is absolute mobile garbage, and was also based off of the popular Ion MMO, Blade & Soul 2, which is a direct sequel to Blade & Soul, yet plays absolutely nothing like it, and provides nothing that made Blade & Soul unique. Lineage 2M, which honestly isn't doing terribly, but the game itself is about as terrible as you'd expect a Lineage MMO on mobile to be. And Project TL, which, just FYI, is launching this year, finally, and it's coming globally as well. Now, all of these games have either already launched or have planned launches this year. And after seeing the horrendous decline in terms of active players and revenue, it's evident why NCSoft are trying to push out a new Blade & Soul title. But what exactly is Blade & Soul S, and is it going to effectively replace what we all know and love on PC? Honestly, no. The only way this successfully replaces Blade & Soul on PC is if NCSoft opt to completely and entirely shut the game down, which, at least based off of the first quarter of 2022, is likely not going to happen. Blade & Soul S is the, and I know this is going to shock some of you, third mobile game based on the Blade & Soul intellectual property. Yes, there are already several different mobile Blade & Soul titles currently available, including Blade & Soul 2, which once again I have a review of for those of you that are interested, and where Blade & Soul 2 actually looks good. It might be a crap game overall, but visually, there is no denying that the sequel to Blade & Soul looks anything other than stunning. Blade & Soul S has taken a completely different approach. Blade & Soul S is chibi. It is distorted, cutified. They turned what was once a video game aimed at teenagers or adults into what seems to be a children's game, the kind of game that my little nephew would play, and it looks absolutely horrible. If I didn't know who these characters were in the trailer, I'd think this was a game specifically targeted at children. Yes, it looks and feels that bad. However, much like its predecessor on PC, Blade & Soul S is going to feature a completely dynamic open world that is going to supposedly change in real time. This feature isn't really very common or really done at all in MMOs due to the nature of large-scale multiplayer functionality. Will NPCs walk around? Will they move from their pre-designated areas? Are monsters going to spawn sporadically across various different locations? Will villages be established and then vanish just as fast? Unfortunately, nobody knows, but having a dynamic world means a world that never becomes repetitious, never grows stagnant, because this world is always changing, it is always evolving. And I just don't really see how that is at all possible for an MMO. This game is going to take place 3 years before the events of Blade and Soul, which means we already know the outcome of the story, unless they plan on taking the story in another direction. If not, we'll quickly arrive at the same point in the story that we're at in the PC iteration of the game, and we'll be essentially playing at a game that we have already played, but with chibi graphics and worse combat. And given this is going to be a prequel, it's highly likely they plan on retconning events, which will end up ultimately angering players. Where Blade and Soul was an MMO and presented players with a single character that they could create, that they could level, and they had the ability to customize, Blade and Soul S is going the gacha route. While still an MMO, you're going to be able to recruit and subsequently purchase via the cash shop different characters found within the franchise, meaning that you'll buy someone like Jin So-yeon and send her into battle alongside you. I get it, they're very desperate for money, but I swear to God, if this is not the dumbest thing that I have heard all year up until this point. And what's worse, they plan on adding new characters into the game. And I get it's a prequel, but these characters are going to have an impact. They're going to have a form of importance on the story, and will likely be present throughout the game, altering the course of the game even further. What's weird is that the game once more is entirely open world, which means these characters that you'll be capable of deploying will actually be fighting alongside you out in the world, with other players using their own selection of characters as well. I don't know, man, this all sounds really ridiculous to me. We do not need a Blade and Soul MMO, least of all on mobile devices. Rather, we need NCSoft to take a moment here to realize that they need to fix the already existing game. That is much more important. Blade and Soul S looks horrible. The cheap looking graphics, the potentially retconned story, the likely autoplay, the dumbed down game overall is not the logical next stage of the game that we need. It's a step in the complete wrong direction, and it will hurt the franchise more than it'll help it. Like, how many people do you hear positively and actively speaking about any of the other Blade and Soul mobile games? Go ahead, I'll wait. Exactly. And this is not the future that the Blade and Soul intellectual property, the franchise, deserves. But crappy Korean developers like NCSoft are going to take every IP they hold and they are going to flush it down the toilet for money, because that's what they do. All they care about is money, and they do not realize that players will spend money on a game that they enjoy, that is handled well, like Final Fantasy XIV. Hey, well, Blade and Soul, it is going downhill. And honestly, I would not be all that surprised if NCSoft confirmed that Blade and Soul is going to shut down later this year. But then again, given the population in Lineage, given the population in Ion, and the fact that they still haven't shut those games down, it's probably highly unlikely. Until then though, I got a game you might be interested in right here.